Welcome to That's OD. I'm Dave McMenamin. My co-host here is Ohm Youngmisuk. And weekly on ESPN's NBA YouTube channel, we're going to break down Los Angeles hoops, Ohm with the Clippers perspective, me with the Lakers perspective, and the NBA at large. So for the first week, we have NBA training camp. 22-23 season is upon us. Ohm is in Las Vegas with the Clippers. I'm out in Los Angeles with the Lakers. And even though the Clippers have many people thinking that they could break through and win the first first title in franchise history. Let's start with the Lakers.
Yeah.
We were at media day on Monday, and there was a certain someone wearing a number 0 uniform in the gym. And I think if you would have asked many people there a couple months ago, if they thought they'd ever see Russell Westbrook walk through the door again as a Laker, the odds were not looking too good for that. But I think that's where we had to start with this team. And, I give credit to Bill Plaschke of the LA Times, who straight up asked Russell Westbrook the question that was on everyone's mind. How do you feel about the Lakers? And do they really want you to be here, considering how many reports that we had at ESPN over the summer about the different trade pursuits that Rob Pelinka tried to put together to move on from Russell Westbrook? And, to Russell Westbrook's credit, he said he wants to do whatever he can to help the team, and he will be committed to winning. It did echo in my head as something I heard before last season. And obviously we know how that thing ended up, but I think we start there. Do you see any pathway for Russell Westbrook being a productive winning player for the Lakers this season?
The odds are not great, Dave, but I will say this. A lot of it, unfortunately, falls on Darvin Ham's shoulders here, because I feel like he's going to have to find a pathway to make this work, whether that is bringing Russell Westbrook off the bench and having him play in the non-LeBron minutes. I just don't see how Russell Westbrook and LeBron James, and I felt this way when they first made this pairing, of how they're going to work on the floor together. I always thought that maybe Russ runs the second unit. He gets to play the style that he wants to play, up and down. He gets to have the ball in his hands a lot, because as we've seen, when LeBron has the ball in his hands, Russ becomes pretty much useless. He cannot shoot from the outside as a catch and shoot guy. He needs the ball in his hands. He needs to play angry, aggressive Russ basketball. Not really sure how much of that he has left in the tank. We saw it in Washington. And it really clicked that second half of the season. And I felt like all last season, I kept waiting to see when Russ was going to turn it on like that. And he just couldn't. I do think he deferred a lot to the guys, and maybe this season he's going to feel like he doesn't. I feel like Darvin Ham has to find a way to do that. I will also say this too, Dave. It's also beyond X's and O's to me, and it always is in the NBA. A lot of people focus on analytics. And as I always say, as someone who's covered the league for a long time, you can't always explain everything with statistics and analytics, because sometimes guys have stuff going on at home with their wife or their kids, or, they might have an issue that pops up in their life that affects their game. In this case here, you have a clear awkwardness going on and a dynamic between LeBron James, Russell Westbrook and the Lakers organization. Russ had to hear all summer long how, the Lakers fans don't want him, how the Lakers were trying to trade him. Where could they send him? What could they do? Kyrie Irving, all of this stuff. And I'm sure it all fueled him. And then you add in my boy Pat Bev into the mix, which is like throwing in gunpowder into basically a barrel full of it, getting ready to just get blown up. And that he's going to be super fired up. But I got to ask you, Dave, because we heard, and this is a little behind the scenes for people, Lakers Media Day was on the same day as Clippers Media Day, but I believe it started about an hour or an hour and a half before Clippers. In order for people to kind of, if they could, make both media days. And you see that sometimes on the TV side where the local anchors and stuff like that, Jim Hill, the great Jim Hill, will go bounce between the two. And I started hearing from people who were at Lakers, Russ was a little combative when he was asked a couple of questions. It was a little awkward when they had all three take pictures together because it looked like there was some space between Russ and LeBron and AD. I wanted to ask you what that awkwardness felt like.
Well, so I saw it coming together. I was on the far side of the gym and they had the tapestry and the photo set up on the other end. And I'm like, oh, there's LeBron and AD. We see that all the time. And then, oh, now Russ is coming into the frame to pose for the photo as well. So, yeah, take the phone out. I'm walking over to try to get a good angle, get some video, send it to our producer Jeremy for the NBA on ESPN YouTube channel, and immediately Anthony Davis, who I have a good rapport with from over the years, recognizes what clearly I'm doing is trying to like, hey, here's the big three back together, flips me the bird. I don't know if you got to blur that out, but it was in a joking, in jest, but basically being like, hey, get out of here, let us do our thing. I think this is a example of the team trying to will it to happen. And they're putting so much on Darvin Ham's shoulders. And listen, I think there is a way for Russell Westbrook to be very effective still in one aspect of NBA basketball. That is the ball in his hands in transition, barreling down the court with a head full of steam and working on instincts. And whether that's getting to the hoop and finishing or getting fouled or getting into the lane and spraying out to the limited shooters they have on this roster, but there's a couple who can make a shot. That's where he's effective. In order to get opportunities to do that, they got to be better defensively. They were in the 20s last year on the defensive end. And guess what? Darvin Ham is coming from a great defensive system in Milwaukee. Darvin Ham, a very capable coach, but the guy who he's replacing is a defensive guru as well. And it's not like Frank Vogel was confused by what was going on the court last year. He certainly was presenting the team with a defensive game plan that can be effective because we saw the two previous seasons where they ranked in the top 3 in the league in defense, both of those years. And so if Darvin Ham can somehow thread the needle, keep Russ comfortable and feel valued, while also making the entire team better defensively so Russ can get those opportunities when the team is getting defensive rebounds and run outs and steals and deflections, he can be effective. I think it's asking a lot, but it could happen. And here's why I think it could happen. The Lakers, as much as they are the Lakers and they have LeBron and ESPN will be talking about them a lot and the spotlight will be on them, there's not the weight of expectations to win the championship like there was last year. So when the Lakers start off 0-2 last year, already the pressure is mounting. This year, no one thinks that this is that's going to happen with this team. So they
saw the disaster already. So
exactly.
they
could have a soft launch. They could have a soft launch, get things together, and maybe Darvin, without the pressure of well, why aren't you winning every night? Maybe they could start looking good, a month into the season, and take their lumps and learn from them. I don't think last year they ever got to do that.
So I will counter that, Dave, by saying one thing though. Let's just say the Lakers get off to a 4-6 start, 4-8 maybe, and all of a sudden now Russ doesn't look happy. LeBron, LeBron wants to win, and so LeBron can get caught up in the daily of I want to win every game. And yes, he keeps an eye on the big picture. And yes, they are going to have to take their lumps early, and it's going to be a learning process. But LeBron also loses his patience sometimes when he's in the season, once the season gets going again. And with all the cameras on them, I just feel like the bleep show potential there could be even greater than last year and will mount even more. Like it could be a cumulative effect from last year. It could get even worse, right?
I suppose it could. I will say this for LeBron, and he's going to be in year 20. He turns 38 in December, and there's so much talk about the physical toll that this game has taken on his body. 3 of the last 4 seasons, he's missed significant chunks of time because of injuries in LA. Mentally, though, I will say, I got to spend a little bit of time with him on Monday. He was refreshed. His attitude was great. There was a lightness to him. I'm not saying that just because mental refreshment means that he will be able to stave off the type of things that affect any NBA player, turning an ankle, et cetera, et cetera. But I think that was just a good sign to know that he obviously has two eyes wide open about the situation that this team is in right now and the characters they have on the roster and the things they still may need to address. But so many people take their cues from LeBron James's energy when he is in an organization. And that is the kind of double-edged sword of being the guy, right? It's great when it's going good, but when it's going bad, people are looking at you and your bad body language, or you rolling your eyes if a play doesn't go the right way, or you being a little less engaged in a film session, et cetera, et cetera. All those things add up, and it's hard to dig yourself out of that hole if your leader has already kind of written off the season as a loss. He's coming into this one with the mentality that we can do something. And I think that can go a long way in their development.
I'm just going to be curious to see how long that lasts if things go sideways early and they face a lot of like turmoil. And Pat Bev is acting up and Russ's energy is negative, and Russ throws the ball away or takes air balls, a perimeter shot, or misses a gimme, and LeBron is looking at it like, hopefully things don't go that way. Cause I always think, listen, I've always come to the standpoint that like when the Lakers are good, the NBA is good. When the New York Knicks are good, the NBA is good. Same for the Boston Celtics, all the big franchises. I always like to see them do well, and especially in the battle for LA. The Clippers are obviously expected to contend for a championship. It's always good when both teams are good in Los Angeles.
So one more point on the Lakers before we do shift to my pick for the NBA champions in the LA Clippers. Rob Pelinka very clearly laid out on media day that he is willing and able to trade the two future first-round picks the Lakers have available in 2027 and 2029 for the right deal, recognizing that LeBron made a commitment to us by signing that 2-year extension. We owe it to him to commit to do whatever we can to become more competitive, to see him to the end was the term that Rob Pelinka used. Now, I am of the opinion that they already should have made a move. They could have traded one first-round pick last year at the trade deadline, and they would have had John Wall on their team. And the Clippers wouldn't be as good as they're looking this year either.
Yeah.
They could have traded 2 first-round picks to the Utah Jazz this summer and had Mike Conley on their team and Bogdan Bogdanovic on their team and not have Russell Westbrook on their team. Now, the thinking is the Lakers got to figure out, can they have another team that they've been negotiating with? Because now I don't think the Utah deal is so much on the table. Indiana. Will Indiana come off their stance of wanting 2 first-round picks when they recognize that maybe their season is not going so well? And you know what? We're not going to do anything right now. And getting an asset like that 2027 or 2029 first-round pick when the Lakers could be in a rebuild and it's a lottery pick, let's just do it. Maybe that could help out a lot. But I don't know if there is the magic pill out there for them on any deal, at least not the ones that I see right now. Maybe one emerges that none of us are thinking about, but quite frankly, and this is strange of me to say, but they may be better off playing this thing out and keeping the first-round picks, signing guy in free agency this upcoming summer to replace the money that you're paying Russell Westbrook right now. And then on top of that, then using the picks to try to find something.
I feel like Rob is going to wait and see what the Lakers do. I think he wants to see like, okay, if we get out to a big start and come December, Lakers are doing like, 10 games above 500 or something like that. And we look like we're in the contention, then maybe we make that move and we add Miles Turner and, Buddy Hield or something like that. Fact of the matter is, look, I love Miles Turner. He's 26 years old. Miles Turner can still get better. And he's great defensively, Yes, he has had, injuries over the years and things like that. And, I think he's expanded his offensive game. Can he get better? Yes. But I think he'd be a really good fit on that team. But I understand where Rob's coming from. Let's hold on to the as little assets as we have, because we haven't in the past, and see where that goes. And Russ obviously is on the final year of his contract, right? So I think it's kind of like, let's see how this team does. Because if they don't do well and we're in December and we're in January, well, then we're holding on to these assets. But all of a sudden, if we get close to February and we're in the thick of this and we look like we can win it and LeBron looks great and AD is like playing like a top 5 guy, yeah, we're in now. We're putting the chips in.
Well, the chips are finally in for the LA Clippers. Even though you did report that we will not see Kawhi Leonard in the preseason opener, which what are we waiting for? It was my reaction, but sure, okay, doesn't count for much. We will theoretically get to see the version of the team that they envisioned when Kawhi Leonard and Paul George signed in 2019, rather than Kawhi accepting the Lakers overtures. What to you is the biggest determining factor whether they can actually make some major noise this year or not?
It's going to be 2 things, and they're both tied together. It starts with the health. With Kawhi Leonard, he went through the first 3 practices. They had 2-a-days on the first day, and he went through both full. In fact, Ty Lue actually kind of opened camp reverse the way he normally does, where they might start with some teaching and then they play. He let them play first, and then they did the second session where they taught, because this is such a veteran team, and he sensed that, and Ty as well as anybody. Ty has a great sense for his players in this team. He's like, we have a veteran team, and they were ready to get going, and so he let them run. And Kawhi looked good. And then the next day, day 2, they had 1 practice. Kawhi went through it full. And so today, Ty told me that Kawhi is not going to practice, but it's not a setback. This is part of the plan. He and John Wall were held out. And for the preseason opener on Friday, there's not going to be John Wall. There's not going to be Kawhi Leonard, no Reggie Jackson, no PG. Pretty much a lot of the veterans are going to sit out. I think at some point we're going to see them. But the health, obviously, and number 1, keeping Kawhi healthy and John Wall and those guys. But number 2, because of that, because the Clippers have to have a plan in, I don't like the word ramp up, but making sure that, keeping these guys safe from suffering any setbacks. They have 11 of their first 15 back-to-backs, I believe, before February 1st. That's got to mean to me that you don't play some of these guys in these back-to-backs, which now again means the Clippers are facing something that they have faced for several years now, which is because they're so focused on health, well, their chemistry takes a hit a little bit because these guys aren't on the floor together for all the minutes they normally would be playing. And so then we start to see in the final 2 weeks of the season, we start wondering, where's the Clippers chemistry at? Because these guys haven't played as much. And Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, fact of the matter is this is year 4 for them, Dave, right? It's kind of time that we see what they can do. Some of that's been out of their hands with injuries and, the disruption of the pandemic in year 1, the chemistry in the bubble just disintegrating. But a lot of this is like, these guys need minutes on the floor together. I sat down with PG for 30 minutes yesterday. We talked about a lot of different things. Kawhi Leonard, how he looks. By the way, PG says he looks very strong, which is scary because Kawhi was already a strong guy.
Quick interjection on that one. We saw the photo circulating of his legs. Was that enhanced? Is that real? Leg day every day?
Kawad, I think. Kawad, is that what I want to call him? Yeah, it's almost like Saquon Barkley's quads.
It's wild.
We might need to put up Saquon Barkley's quads on one side and Kawhi's quads on the other. He is big. And, it's because Kawhi said this at media day. I've spent the last 13 months lifting weights. So I have definitely gotten stronger, which is really scary because Kawhi, people forget, like, he's kind of a power player. Yeah, he'll dunk on you and everything, but everything he does is with force. It's with aggression. Everything he does is hard. When he falls on the floor, he falls hard. He takes hard spills, almost like a big man. It's really weird. So now that he's stronger and, but you've seen this and we've seen this a million media days, Dave, these guys come in looking bigger. They look, they add more muscle. And then because they burn so much, it's like by the time the end of camp is, they've lost like another 5 pounds,
Yeah, that's true.
PG and I talked about that. PG and those close to him told me this is the most focused offseason PG has ever had. He's not only focused on his body, but his game. He was so focused on everything. He took only 2 weeks off the entire offseason, and that was to go get married in Italy with his wife. And
Pretty good
even
use of your off time.
Dave, as somebody, you just went to Europe, okay? Can you imagine going to Italy for 2 weeks and not really eating pasta while you got married? Okay, that's how focused Paul George was. I said, PG, did you really not eat pasta while you were in Italy? He goes, well, I'm not going to make you think that I didn't eat any pasta. He goes, but I ate very little compared to normal.
Because I would say that'd be grounds for divorce. Like his wife should be allowed to just walk away. Like, you're not gonna eat pasta while we're on our wedding in Italy? I'm sorry, I can't do this.
When he started the offseason, he was 238. He wanted to get down to 228. He was at 231 before going to Italy. And his manager told me, yeah, man, we thought, okay, he was doing great, goes to Italy. Well, he's going to come back at 238. He came back at 231, Dave.
Oh, that's great.
I don't know how you can go on vacation for 2 weeks and still come back the exact same way, especially in Italy after your wedding, where a lot of his teammates showed up. John Wall was there. Kawhi was there. I mean, I don't know if John Wall was there. Kawhi was there. Karl Anthony Towns, a whole bunch of the Clippers
Pat
were
Bev,
out there.
right? Pat Beverly was there too.
Pat Bev was there. Yeah. Pat Bev showed up on the IG with all the, he looked like he definitely was enjoying Italy. So yeah, I would say that Paul basically said the reason why he's so focused is he understands the assignment. And I said, well, what's the assignment? He says it's to win a championship. He's talked about it. Basically, his championship window is shrinking. He is 32 years old. He's going to be 33. But I think when he says that, I think he understands this is year 4 for Kawhi and PG. When they signed up, everybody thought, yeah, they're going to try to win a championship, and they've only gotten one Western Conference Finals. Granted, it's the first ever in franchise history, and they did it when Kawhi went down in second round. They still made it there. But I would probably say, and they would probably admit the same thing, that they have not met the expectations and the lofty goals that they had when they first teamed up. A lot of it's out of their control, but they know, like, hey, this is kind of the year. They got to get it going. They got to kind of show what they can do. And we still, we have to remember, it's been a long time, Dave, since PG and Kawhi have played on the court together.
Yeah, really.
Second round Utah 2021. So they got more of that to get used to again, and that chemistry. And I think it's going to be a year-long thing, a season-long thing.
I have a question about the setup of Clippers Media Day. I've seen some videos on social media where it looks like the guys are sitting on some sort of like lifeguard beach chair.
Like a throne.
A throne. And then they're doing show and tell with their sneakers and with what was going on there? I've never seen a setup like that before.
All right, let's give fans a little insight into Media Day. Normally on Media Day, and it always feels like the first day of school where everybody's kind of back and they're looking tan and they're happy to kind of see each other. I'm always in a grumpy mood because I'm like, oh man, the season's starting again and my vacation's over. But usually you see the guys and they're different stations in the back and they're doing things for different things. Game Ops, for example, has these guys screaming into the video, and that's what you see on the big screen where guys are screaming in the starting lineup intros, or they're playing the little games that they do where you see that during timeouts. Another station, maybe guys are signing basketballs and signing shoes for community relations. The Clippers this year, and normally those stations are kind of blocked off. Like you can see them zoom in and shoot. You were probably back there because you were doing TV interviews. You could go up there. Sometimes people can't always go up and those things. This year, for whatever reason, Clippers Media Day was wide open. You could walk anywhere you want. Steve Ballmer's just walking around, like saying hi to people, things like that. One of the stations was a sneaker station. And so they had like this elevated chair that looked like a throne. And basically guys could bring their shoes and talk about their sneakers. And they invited shoe bloggers to come in, and guys were sitting there and talking to them. So Kawhi, PG, John Wall emptied a duffel bag full of Kobe's. And he had 2 duffel bags, and I think they were all just in this locker. He had somebody go get them. Like, I don't think he just went home and said, I'm going to bring all my Kobe's and show them off. I think they were in his locker. So Kawhi comes over, and it's weird. Like there was like an Asian couple talking to Kawhi, I think it was like maybe season ticket holders were there or something like that. And so they just start talking to Kawhi about tennis because Kawhi went to the US Open this year.
That's right.
And so I asked Kawhi because I'm a big tennis guy, and I said, "Yeah, I saw you at the US Open." And we were talking, and he was like, "Yeah, I didn't know that you have to be quiet in between serves and points, and you can't make any noise." And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Yeah, you
It's like
can't
the
make any
perfect
noise."
environment for Kawhi Leonard, right?
Yeah. And Kawhi was like, he brought up a great point. He said, mentally, because I didn't know it was that big in tennis, because I thought what I do would be mentally harder because not only do teammates have to depend on me, but I got to depend on my teammates. And I think that mental approach was hard. He's like, but tennis, it's harder. And I go, yeah, because tennis, you're by yourself. It's like being a swimmer. You've been working out since you were 6, doing this by yourself, and it's all on you. Your family's following you, your coaches, whatever, right? So, anyways, Kawhi is having this discussion about tennis, and John Wall dumps all these shoes out. And he sees Kawhi and he says, "Claw, claw." He goes, "You need to give me some of your New Balances to throw into the collection." And Kawhi's like, "Yeah, you definitely need some New Balances, but you got Kobe's there, so you're good." So, like,
Good.
PG showed off his new shoes. The Clippers unveiled their statement edition jerseys, which kind of has those like little the sale things that the Jordan 5s have on the bottom.
Right.
And it's on the side of their jerseys and their shorts. And so they had these shoe designers, chapter 3, I believe is what they're called. And they made Jordan 5 special editions for the Clippers with like the little sale thing and everything. So, I got to kind of find my way and weasel my way in to get one of those pairs because
I saw the shoes. They look good. The shoes look better than the jerseys, though. When are teams going to recognize asymmetrical uniforms never look good? So the jerseys have like almost like a shark bite on the side.
Yes,
like
which is
terrible.
the sales. Which, yeah,
Terrible.
I always kind of looked at them as like a shark teeth thing type of thing too.
Right.
But I think this is like their ode to kind of like sailing and things like that. So I mean, I've always liked like the old school jerseys. Like I think the Lakers one this year is that dark purple, right? Dark purple and the one that Pat Bev has been wearing in the pictures.
Yeah. I liked it. I think there's black, a black element to it. I think it came out well. Mixed review online, but that's what you're going to get online these days anyway. But I digress. Enough about the aesthetics of the team. I also want to know about how do you think the Clippers can realistically manage a roster that has like 12 guys that should play?
Dave, like I was looking at the roster and Ty said that he can go easily 10 to 11. Yeah, he can go 12 deep. I mean, there are going to be nights where I wonder if like Luke Kennard, who led the league in 3-point shooting, is going to play. Yes, they need 3-point shooting, but like if he's not playing defense and Ty Lue he's talked to me several times about putting in a lineup of all 5 interchangeable guys that can play all 5 different positions, 6, 7 wing guys. They have those. I mean, you could literally put out a lineup of like PG, Kawhi, Robert Covington, Nick Batum, and another guy, and basically all those guys switch on every position. Maybe it's Norm Powell, for example. Okay. And these guys, he wants defense, but he also wants scoring. And Luke Kennard, as good of a 3-point shooter is, sometimes he doesn't play defense the way Ty Lue wants. But Norm Powell said this the other night. We are going to get the most open threes. Luke and Norm, we're going to get the most open threes that we've ever seen. I think Marcus Morris is already talking about like being second in the league in 3-point shooting behind Luke Kennard this season. Marcus Morris, by the way, looks very fit. We want to talk about body watch as everybody does in media day. He normally doesn't play much in the preseason because of his knees. I think he said he dropped 10 pounds and he feels like his knees feel really good. So he looks like he's in good shape. He had a little bit of a down year last year, but I would say PG might have hit it on the nail here. He said, I think we have to take a Team USA approach with this depth, and that the minutes that the guys get, they have to make the most of those minutes. Everybody that wherever you came from was probably a star on your team, scored a lot of points, used to a lot of heavy minutes. On this team, you're going to have to sacrifice. And it's all going to have to be for the one goal in mind, which is to win it all. And you're going to have to basically, when you're called upon, you go in there, you do your role, and you maximize the minutes you get. And on some nights, some guys aren't going to play. Like Nick Batum, we talked to him, and there are going to be nights when he's probably playing center, Dave. But then there are going to be other nights when he might not play. And he's kind of a glue guy for them. So I think it's going to be, I think we're going to see some pretty funky lineups out there of what Ty can get creative with. And Paul even said there might be like when we go 5 out with all wings, because this might be something that if it's successful, other teams might emulate.
So this is where I think the Lakers and Clippers are very much in the same spot right now. I don't have a clear sense of what the Lakers starting lineup is going to look like, because I honestly believe that Darvin Ham doesn't know yet. You have LeBron and you have Anthony Davis, of course. From what we've heard so far, Russell Westbrook's looked good, and I don't think they will relegate him to the bench just to do it. And so I would be leaning towards Russell being in the starting lineup based on the information we have right now. I think the Lakers go with one of the centers, Damian Jones or Thomas Bryant, rather than go to AD at the 5 to begin the year. Of course, there'll be moments in closing lineups. We'll have AD at the 5 a lot. So, but then that other wing, it should be wide open, and they could go small with a guy like Kendrick Nunn. They can have Austin Reeves, who they really thought developed as a wing defender last year. Lonnie Walker's been hurt coming into camp, and so has Troy Brown Jr., but both of those guys, Lonnie more for the scoring side, Troy more for the defense. So that's kind of all up in the air on the Lakers side of things. What's the Clippers starting lineup looking like?
Yeah, Ty's not saying, obviously, I think the point guard position is up for grabs between Reggie Jackson and John Wall. I'm in Las Vegas days, so if I'm a betting man, which I try to stay away from the tables, I would say that I think Reggie Jackson's going to be the starting point guard, and John Wall comes off the bench, and they have him run with the younger guys and kind of have the ball in his hands that way. But that doesn't mean that whatever starting lineup is going to be the finishing lineup. You could see nights where John Wall finishes with Paul and Kawhi, and that Zubats is not the starting center. Like, I think Zoo will start at center. I think the starting lineup will probably be Reggie Jackson, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Marcus Morris, and Ivica Zubats. That's just kind of my guess and my feel right now. But then I think you're going to see a much different finishing lineup. I think you're going to see perhaps Nick Batum finish at center, or Robert Covington, or Marcus Morris Sr. You could see Kawhi Leonard at power forward, Paul George at small forward, Norman Powell at the 2, and then maybe John Wall, Reggie Jackson at the 1. Like, I think there's so many different ways that Ty Lue can go, and I know that it probably kept Ty Lue sleepless for a lot of nights this off season of him trying to figure out what he's going to go with. But I would say I think the starting 5 might be exactly the same as it's kind of always been when Kawhi Leonard was healthy, which is Reggie Jackson, PG, Kawhi, Marcus Morris, and then Ivica Zubats.
Got it. So I think those are the big issues or topics that we've had to cover through the first week of training camp. I know you're off to Seattle.
Yep.
That should be exciting in and of itself to have NBA basketball back in Seattle. I heard Sean Kemp has a little side business there if you're looking for some fun while you're out there.
Yeah, I'll stay away from that too.
The Lakers will be going to Las Vegas. They open up at home against the Sacramento Kings on Monday, then a back-to-back in Vegas. So I'll be following your footsteps out there next week. And we'll do this again. We'll have some more information about the lineups potentially. We'll know more about what type of sneakers these guys are wearing. Maybe another player will flip me the bird. Who knows? But we'll have more stories to share every week, you and I. And then we're going to have some guests too, worked in as the season goes on. Ohm, I appreciate the time as always. I'm looking forward to doing this with you all season long. For Ohm, I'm Dave. This is the OD. That's OD. And can't wait to do it all season long.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.